Welcome to Talking Halos. This is Derek Ciapala with my co-host, my partners in crime this afternoon, Nate Green and Jared Timms. And it is deadline weekend plus a couple more days because it's Tuesday. Going first to Nate. How you doing?
Doing well. Good to see the Angels made a move. How you guys doing?
Living the dream. Dreams of Angels trades. Jared?
Fun time of the year, especially if you're a bad team. Or if you're a really good team. I don't know. But yeah, we have stuff to talk about, so it's a lot of fun.
Are you saying there hasn't been stuff to talk about?
Yes, that's what he's saying.
All right. So, what are we going to talk about? Well, Carlos Estevez gets traded to the Philadelphia Phillies, the first place Philadelphia Phillies, for two prospects, George Clausen and the other dude, Samuel Aldigari. The big one, the big name in there, supposedly George Clausen. I have only one source for all the goods of these guys, and that's Jared. Jared, take it away. Tell us about Clausen and Aldigari.
Yeah, Clausen, big arm, 95 to 99. It can touch triple digits. At least touch triple digits at Minnesota. Oddly enough, University of Minnesota, weirdly enough, gets like those some big arms. They had Max Meyer committed a couple years back, was like the third overall pick by the Marlins, and he was a big arm. So just another big arm that Minnesota takes. University of Minnesota takes. He's got okay, so I'm gonna call it a cutter and a slider. So he's got the cutter that everybody calls kind of a slider. Or you can just call it two cut sliders if you want. The cutter 90-91, kind of more sweeperish in a sense, is why I would call it more of a cutter. But it's got a lot of movement on it, definitely swing and miss pitch. And then the actual slider itself, mid upper 80s, 85 to 87-ish. More of like that Chase Silseth type of slider. So if you want to call that the sweeper, you can too. But yeah, it's a good three pitch mix for sure. Angels are gonna keep him as a starter for as long as possible. And he has a little bit of reliever risk. I asked around. It's kind of that Ryan Johnson, who the Angels just drafted, type of comp. Upper nines, couple good off-speed pitches, might be a reliever. Is going to have the ability to start for sure. With Clausen, not as good of command as Ryan Johnson, which is why for me I rank him a little bit lower than Ryan Johnson on my prospect list, but gonna slot Clausen about at that number 6 spot for the Angels, 5 or 6. So it's pretty solid. I'm for a 1 month rental, 2 month rental of Carlos Estevez. That alone is a very good return, but they also obviously get Samuel Aldigari. The Italian actually is from Italy, I believe, was born in Italy. So pretty cool to see that as well. Stuff wise isn't quite as good. For me, what I'd say is a tick below of Reed Detmers on that mix. Wasn't throw as hard as Reed Detmers. You won't see him rush it up to 96, 97, maybe 98, which you saw from Detmers. The command kind of comes and goes like Detmers does. I saw a really good command from Aldigari. I saw not as good command from Aldigari. Both these guys were performers in the minors, had very good seasons. Two of the big risers across the major leagues. So I mean, you see kind of the direction the Angels are going with these two guys. Back onto Aldigari though, fastball is going to be low to, he can probably touch a 95, 96. So it's definitely there. Um, Sneaky fastball. That's what I got to say about that. He hides the ball well. It gets on hitters. You watch hitters hit the fastball. They're not on it like they are with Clausen. Clausen not at 90. Like I said, he can touch triple digits, but the fastball's flat, not a lot of movement. Gary, heavy fastball is going to get a lot of weak contact with that pitch. He also has three other pitches. The changeup flashed average when I was watching. The curveball and slider could mix a little bit for sure. That they both have that slurvy type. It's not the Reed Detmers big loopy type of curveball. It's more of that more sliderish on both those pitches. So, but in general, I think a very good return for somebody that you're going to have for 2 years now. I mean, if the Phillies go win a World Series and Carlos Estevez is the MVP, then it doesn't matter for the Phillies. But for the Angels, solid return definitely helps the farm system out. I was getting asked have the Angels improved their farm system over the past, 2.5 weeks? And I've added 7 guys to the top 15 over the past 2 weeks, including the draft. So yes, and I know we're going to talk about this a little bit more, but they're going to make a couple more trades, which we would assume and probably hope that the Angels are going to get a couple more guys that you can slot in that top 10 range, and the Angels will get even deeper. Now, are the Angels going to be a top farm system in all of Major League Baseball? Probably not. Um, but I've added 150 grade in Christian Moore, and I've added a whole bunch of 45s and high risk 45s that could be relievers, could be pretty good starters as well. So yeah, the Angels farm system has gotten better. Is it elite? Is it great? No, not by any means, but it has the ability to produce major leaguers, which is kind of cool and something that we haven't seen the Angels do a whole lot of in recent years, to be honest. So
Hard to even hear you say that last part. Like, it's true. I don't get tired of hearing it, but it's still true. It still stings. So when you're looking at this move, pair this with the draft, you just mentioned it, a lot of guys who can be relievers, potentially starters. You got 2 guys who right now look like relievers. What do you make of the Angels' strategy and building on pitching, but guys who are basically relievers?
I wouldn't say they're basically relievers, right? Like Ryan Johnson has a good chance. Johnson has a chance to start. Like the commands are there. The only
Yes.
reason why you put the reliever risk on Ryan Johnson, who the Angels drafted, is because he's funky. That's really the only reason. He's 6'6", throws a lot of strikes, and comes from a weird arm slot. Like if Jimmy Herget threw 99 miles an hour, that's what Ryan Johnson is basically. As far as arm slot goes, like the reliever risk here with Clausen is because of the command. I mean, he doesn't have the best of command. He needs to, and he also doesn't have a great fastball either. He has 2 pretty good off speed pitches, but the fastball isn't all that good. It's the Shohei Ohtani type fastball. Shohei could kick it up to 102, but if hitters are going to see that a lot better. Aldegary has a chance to. Aldegary probably sticks as a starter. He really does. It's like it's average across the board, but he probably sticks as a starter. He's a 4.5 guy. So. Um, Greg, was it Trey Gregory Alford?
Mhm.
The high
Yes.
schooler out of Colorado. I mean, that's reliever risk just because, I mean, the command isn't quite there. He's a high schooler, and you just don't know what you got. It was the same thing with Caden Dana. There was reliever risk there. There still is risk with Caden Dana. I mean, what if he comes to the majors and can't get guys out? It's like, well, now you got to put him into the bullpen. Sam Bachman, reliever risk. There aren't too many guys in the draft or out there that don't have reliever risk. Like name a starter this year that didn't have reliever risk. Chase Burns, reliever risk. Hagen Smith, reliever risk. So you play the stuff game, and that's what the Angels are doing right now. They're getting guys with really good stuff, really good swing and miss ability, strikeout ability, and you try your best to teach them command and try to teach them another pitch, and that's kind of what the Angels are doing right now. And it's um the Angels have produced more pitching than they have in the past 10 years. When you look at it, I mean, Silseth, Detmers, the list kind of goes on from there, to be honest. Caden Dana looks really good down there. The Angels were able to trade away a crap ton of pitching last year, which they probably shouldn't have. But I mean, think about Coleman Crow, Landon Marchaux, Jake Madden, Mason Albright. I mean, those were all pitchers that they traded away that teams saw value in. So are the Angels developing? Great. Not really, but they're developing pitching better than they're developing hitting.
Nate, your thoughts?
Yeah, and to add on to the Clausen thing, he had TJ right before his freshman year or at his freshman year at Minnesota. So with the command issues that you see, that typically is that's usually the last thing that comes back after TJ's command. So that's a sign, like a decent sign, knowing that he has been pretty good with his command this year. Not He hasn't been elite, but like if you saw his numbers in college compared to what he's done so far in the minor leagues, like his command looks night and day better. Um, and then yeah, like we talked about with all the Gary, he's a 4-5 or kind of starter, which is fine. I think getting any return for Carlos Estevez for 2 months of him is amazing. I looked at some some other guys. David Robertson's been traded, the last two trade deadlines, and there have been similar returns for David Robertson that the Angels got for Carlos Estevez. You could argue the Angels might have even gotten a little better return, but I mean, Estevez is easily the best reliever on the market during this trade deadline. The Angels did a good job so far, so hopefully this is not the last one.
The biggest thing I noticed with Clausen, by the way, is the head whack. If he stays balanced, he has a chance to throw a lot of strikes. I expect the Angels to kind of clean that up, but right now it's a lot of head whack. Like he doesn't keep his head still. So keep an eye on that for the coming months and see if the Angels can clean that up.
All right, before we move on, here's a word from our sponsors. It's Prize Picks. They are America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. And right now, you can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. That's right, $10 into $1,000. And you can do this while watching Team USA rack up gold medals this summer. You can make a Prize Picks lineup of basketball players, soccer, tennis, golf, and more. And it's all done in as little as 60 seconds. Just pick pick more or less of 2 to 6 players to add projections, and you're locked in for these summer games. Okay, check it out. We have you covered every week. Go to the players tab projections on Tuesdays to help your lineup hit and get your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Fridays. How do you do this? Go over to the Prize Picks app today. Download it. Use the code RAMSTALK for a first deposit match of up to $100. That's code RAMSTALK on Prize Picks for your first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, pick more, pick less. It's that easy. All that said, other trade targets on the line right now. Luis Garcia. The talk is Jim Bowden was talking about this morning. Hunter Strickland as well. Tyler Anderson, Rengifo, Ward, and maybe even Matt Moore. Guys, who's going? Who's staying? Going with Nate first.
Garcia looks like he's gone before the game today. We're recording this a couple hours before first pitch. It looks like Garcia probably won't be available to pitch today, would be my guess. Looking at this, I don't see Ward going, and I just don't see anyone giving up anything for Matt Moore. I wouldn't be shocked if the Angels pull something like they did last year, where they put him on where they put him on waivers, and somebody claims him just because he's a left-hand reliever that has had success in the past, just hasn't had it this year. So you're looking at Garcia, Strickland, and I think Anderson and Rengifo are the big question marks. I think you have to move both of them. Knowing the Angels, I'm going to say neither of them go, but that's just because I've been an Angel fan way too long.
All right, Jared.
If the Carlos Estevez return is anything like what you're going to get for any of these guys, I mean, you're not going to get it for Matt Moore, Strickland, Luis Garcia, even, but if you can probably get more for Luis Rengifo, Taylor Ward, I don't know if you get the same or it may be a little bit less for Tyler Anderson. The starting pitcher market isn't the best, but if the return is anything to say with what the Angels should do, they should absolutely sell more and more and more. Strengthen up the farm system, see if you can continue getting these type of guys. I don't, oh man, I don't know if Rengifo goes. That'll be interesting to see. Taylor Ward, same thing. Those three, Rengifo, Ward, and Anderson, guys with years left. It's tough to say that those guys are gonna get traded. Guys with 1 year left, you saw Estevez, 1 year left, or those rental type of guys, Strickland, Moore, Luis Garcia, who it just came out that he's the closer today for the Angels. Those guys should definitely go, especially with the price being so high. What's the return on those guys? You're not getting a whole lot. You're not getting a Clausen, you're not getting any of those guys, but return is better than nothing on some of these guys. So I'm gonna stick with I don't see any of the guys with multi-years left getting traded, but you'd like to hope so because their value is extremely high right now, especially for what the Angels just got for Carlos Estevez.
All right. So my view is I'm still you gotta separate the fan and the logic here. With control a factor, it's easy to see Garcia going. He's gone today, I'm sure. Hunter Strickland probably gone. I think Tyler Anderson's gone because somebody needs starter. Somebody needs the innings he'll eat at the very least. So to me, it's Renhefo and Ward really that are the guys that we've already talked about that they could go, they might not go. I think Renhefo probably will go just based on the idea that he's at his highest value now. I mean, but you never know. So is there anybody out there, guys, that you think could go that isn't on this list? Like a sneaky trade?
I mean, there were talks about Reed Detmers. I don't know if that's the route that I think the Angels will go, because the years left and young controllable starter with very good upside. But I mean, Angels have done it before with Brandon Marsh, so if they can get a Logan O'Hoppe type of return, I don't see why not. It's got to be somebody that's pretty much major league ready. If not, he's going straight to Double A to play a couple games, and then he's up for the Angels. So I don't know who that type of guy would be, but I mean, if the Angels are going to pull off if they're going to pull off a weird Brandon Marsh type of trade, it's probably for Reed Detmers. Other than that, I mean, the only other logical player would be Joe Adell. Everybody else, I mean, you're not trading O'Hoppe, you're not trading Shanuel, you're not trading Neto. Brandon Drury, maybe we didn't talk about him. He's a free agent next year. Maybe somebody takes a flyer on him and sees if he can start hitting again, because that's a good bat off the bench for a playoff team. That's for sure. Rendon, probably, I would assume probably not. We talked about Taylor Blake Ward. Mike Trout's hurt, and you're probably not trading Trout anyways. So, I don't see the Angels trading any other starters because they're young, controllable. Maybe Griffin Canning if the right package is there, but I don't see Canning going anywhere either. So yeah, it'll maybe Johnny Cueto. I don't think so though.
Johnny Cueto's there to take Tyler Anderson's spot when he gets traded. That's what he's
Johnny
there
Cueto
for.
will be up here in the next 2 weeks. Yeah,
Yes.
if a pitcher gets traded, he'll be up.
Heck, they're starting rotation right now. You can't even name it because it just goes back and forth. I mean, Rosenberg got to start. Daniel got called up for Rosenberg. I mean, it's pretty rough right now. So I would expect Johnny Cueto to be up next week.
That'd be a quick turnaround, that's for sure. So all those thoughts in mind, a couple other deals across the league I just wanted to ask you guys about. The Tampa Bay Rays, they trade right-handed pitcher Jason Adams to the Padres. I'm a little confused of what the Padres are doing because on one hand they're a contender, on the other hand they're not. Then they had to get rid of spending because let people go, trade Soto because all of a sudden they don't have money, and now they're acting for a contender again. What do you guys make of that deal?
I mean, they're 5.5 back in the West. They're contending for a wild card spot. That's a fun return. Tampa Bay does it again. You know, I wanted to say that Tampa Bay does it again. Dylan Lesko is one of my favorite pitchers in the draft a couple years ago. Big arm there, and for Tampa Bay to get him, it's like, geez, like how do they keep doing this? And for Jason Adams, no less. Granted, he's not a free agent until 2027, but it's you look at it from Padres standpoint, it's controllable reliever. You look at it from the Rays standpoint, and it's like, wow, you just got arguably the best arm in a draft that would happen 2 years ago. High schooler, he's only 21. He's having a rough year this year, but the Rays continue to develop arms, continue to develop players in general. So same thing with the Randy Arozarena trade. I don't know if we're going to talk about that, but that's a weird trade, weird thing to see. Arozarena not on the Rays, but yeah, like I said, fun time of the year for sure.
Well, let's talk about that. The Arozarena trade. What were your thoughts, both of you?
Nate, I'll let you take this one. I mean, Rosarena is what it is for me. He's been a playoff hero, but he's not the best in-season player. He's got a lot of upside though.
I think it's a weird trade for the Mariners, honestly. I think their lineup is very swing and miss with Pop. and you're going to add another swing and miss with pop guy to a lineup that's been struggling to continue to make contact. So I thought it didn't make a lot of sense. I thought it would have made more sense for them to go target a guy like Luis Rengifo, like a guy who's going to put the ball in play a little bit more than what a Rosarina does. But I mean, they're desperate. They're fighting for their jobs. I think Dipoto is on the last year of his contract, and his regime they're all services on the last year of his contract. And with the lead that they had built up with how bad Houston played, how bad Texas played, they are fighting for their jobs right now. And I know that's weird to say, considering the Mariners had a top farm system with Jerry Dipoto, but you got to be able to turn those top prospects into major league talent and be able to turn them into winners. So they're doing whatever they can.
All right, and then one other deal that comes to mind as well: the Yankees go get Jazz Chisholm from the Miami Marlins. Nate, Jazz Chisholm going to the Yankees. Your thoughts?
Most overrated player in baseball, honestly. It's actually funny. Career 240 hitter. Giancarlo Stanton has played more games in the last 3 years than Jazz Chisholm has. Maybe the last 2 years, but he's a 240 hitter, average, probably a pretty good second baseman, average center fielder. He'll have fun hitting home runs 285 feet to right field, but I don't know. The weird thing about this too is I hear that he's not the best clubhouse guy, and the Yankees traditionally try to have a pretty good clubhouse. So I don't know. Another question mark trade for me. I don't know. Not huge on that trade.
No, are you, Jared?
Well, the weird thing with that one is you mentioned the clubhouse. Jazz is an emotional player. Marcus Stroman is an emotional player. It'll be interesting to see how those two guys mix and match. I mean, it adds to it adds to depth for them. I mean, they need some hitting. I mean, they just need to be better in general. So he doesn't fit the Yankees mold, but at some point, tradition's got to kind of go down the drain, and the Yankees got to win a World Series again, right? If they're going to continue to be the Yankees of old. But yeah, I mean, it's cool to see it.
All right. So my thoughts are, as a fantasy owner of Jazz Chisholm, I can tell you I have not been very happy, but I'm looking forward to the numbers that he'll put up in Yankee Stadium. I'm not sure how long he'll last there, because I actually agree with Nate. I think he's very overrated. He should be much more further along in development than he is right now. So, there you go. All right. So this is just the beginning. Today is the 28th as we record this. Hopefully get this out quickly. You never know when children in the house, how quick they get out. But there is more trade deadline stuff to happen between now and then, and expect us to be meeting with you soon enough. Follow Nate on X at Nate Green. I had a brain fart. 34.
34.
I didn't brain fart. Jared _ Tim's and me at DC Paul, or follow at Talking Halos. In the meantime, we're out of here. Have a great one.